Especially since it is about relationships.
Film is set in Mumbai. It is the city of dreams.
Love, gotten married, and had a child. Who I say now is a Mumbai mulgi because she's born and bred over there. Both
Yeah,
of us came from Bangalore and found each other in Mumbai.
in
So
Mumbai. Mumbai is a lucky city for you, professionally and personally.
this wonderful series that he did on the Battle of Saragari, when he played Ishwar Singh, and it was a very, very long show. I think it's like an
Yeah.
old school sort of filmmaking, which I love.
Hello, ma'am. This is Nirali. Firstly, welcome to India today. It's my pleasure to have you for a chat today.
Thank you, Nirali, and please call me Lara. You can't be calling me man through this whole interview.
Okay, Lara. I want to know what were your first thoughts about the project when it was offered to you?
Yeah, so Ishq-E-Nadaan, I think, is one of those rare stories that are not overly embellished and overly complicated. I think today we all feel like these movies need to be made that are, hatke and that are, thrilling and that are, that have some hidden message in them or need to make some strong societal impact and, things like that. So I think Ishq-E-Nadaan is honestly just a breath of fresh air. It's one of those movies that you sit down, you watch, you enjoy, you feel good about it. And especially since it is about relationships, and none of those are always just easy breezy straightforward. All of our relationships in life are slightly a little sort of complicated.
Mhm.
But it's all very real life characters. And I love the fact that it's set in a city that for me became my adopted home at a really young
Yes.
age.
Mhm.
So set in Mumbai and set interestingly
Mhm.
across across three different time periods.
Mhm.
So it's a beautiful snapshot also of a city that you see evolve through the film. So a lot of
Yeah.
people, when you see the trailers, don't really get that, but it's
Yeah.
actually set during three different time periods.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's just lovely and warm, and being a stranger, a lot of times for a lot of us who came from
Mhm.
different cities and settled in Mumbai, we've all found ourselves a bit lonely many different
Mhm.
times in our lives, and it's just nice to make those connections and find those relationships.
Yeah. That you cherish for life.
Exactly.
Exactly. But as you just mentioned, and from what viewers could see in the trailer, that the film is set in Mumbai. It is the city of dreams. I want to know when you came into Mumbai, what were the what's the beauty of Mumbai that you found, and what were there any kind of hard days that you went through in the city? Because it's a
Of
very fast-paced
course.
city.
It is. I mean, and I came to Mumbai when I was only 16 years old. I came absolutely alone. I
Hmm.
put myself through college in Mumbai. And, so my experience has literally been over many decades. I've seen
Hmm.
and I've grown with the city. And yeah, many a times, I've fallen in love. I've fallen out of love. I've moved on from relationships, got into new relationships, finally even found love, gotten married, and had a child. Who I say now is a Mumbai mulgi because she's born and bred over there.
Yeah.
But I think there's no other city quite like Mumbai in all of India, and it truly is the city of dreams. I mean, especially for me at 16, when I came
Yeah.
in, I felt so insignificant and small, and I wasn't
Hmm.
coming from a very small town. Bangalore was
Hmm.
still, a pretty big city,
City.
but
Yeah.
Mumbai is something else. And I always feel like, I always say, for me, every time I go to a city, I try and find one word that describes that
Hmm.
city. And I think for Mumbai, that word is survival.
True.
Everybody over there is trying to survive, and thrive. Yes, very few of us get the opportunity to do so. But more than anything else, it's surviving that huge metropolis. And
Yeah.
when you're trying to do that, you really, really need to have people in your life who, uh, some come in, as they say, for a reason, for a season,
Yeah.
and some of them stay forever.
Yeah. And you have found your forever in the
Well,
city.
thankfully, yes.
Yes.
Both
Yeah.
of us came from Bangalore and found each other in Mumbai.
In
So
Mumbai. Mumbai is a lucky city for you, professionally and personally. Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. But ma'am, talking about your character in the film, tell me something more about it and how could you relate with your character in the film?
So Ramona has a lot of aspects that I do relate with.
Hmm.
There are also elements of her which I've actually never portrayed on screen before. So for me, that was an interesting
Hmm.
bait to want to come in and step into the shoes of the character. What that element is, I can't tell you, which you'll have to
Yeah.
watch in the film. But there are other things that I resonated with, of course. She is a
Hmm.
career driven woman.
Hmm.
She's living life on her terms. It's not easy when you're a woman on the top. To get there also is not easy. To survive in that position is extremely tough. So she's somebody who's kind of is used to being on her own.
Yeah.
That's who she is. She's navigated life entirely by herself. So she's this
Hmm.
very super confident woman, but not
Hmm.
necessarily allowed herself to have vulnerability very much in life. So
Yes.
when she has Ashutosh, which is Mohit Raina's character, come into her
Yeah.
life, she's
Hmm.
actually a little surprised by how naive can somebody, sort of be. How can somebody be so open? And there's this innocence about him that kind of unnerves her. For her, it's
Hmm.
just she's never met anybody like that,
Hmm.
who doesn't have an agenda, who doesn't
Hmm.
have somewhere to get to. And I think that's what the freshness of the pairing is as well.
Yeah, and when we talk about a rom-com, a romantic movie, the one thing that people do talk about is the chemistry between an on-screen couple. Tell me, just to make that chemistry look authentic on screen, how did you bond with Mohit off screen?
So I hadn't met Mohit before we started filming, but of course I know who he is,
Hmm.
and I know who he is not from him playing Mahadev, but actually from watching him in this wonderful series that he did on the Battle of Saragari, and
Yeah,
when he played Ishwar Singh, and it was a very very long show, and my dad was actually watching it, and I sat down and
yeah.
started watching it with him,
Hmm.
and then was very impressed with what Mohit was bringing to the screen.
Hmm.
So there was like one of those tick marks that went off in your mind saying this is an
Hmm.
actor at some point of time I would love to share screen
Hmm.
space with. And
Hmm.
it actually happened very fast. So I
Yeah.
think, when you put something out into the universe, somebody says Tathastu, and then it just happens. So we did. And Mohit as a person himself is, quite reserved. He's quite shy.
Hmm.
I definitely am the more outgoing and the more talkative of the two of us.
Hmm.
But I found that I think it was very easy for us to, sort of communicate with each other. We're both very
Yeah.
clear as actors. When
Hmm.
we come onto set, we've understood our characters really well. So it becomes very easy to play off each other, then to translate that onto screen. And the dynamic in the relationship is very different, like I explained. She's this
Hmm.
high flying career woman.
Hmm.
He, as you can make out, works, in the front office of a hotel.
Yeah.
So it's also, and you meet people like that in life, right? A lot of
True.
times you meet people that come not just from different communities, different castes, different religions, but also different economic backgrounds, different,
Hmm.
who have different trajectories in life.
Hmm.
And for us, understanding that dynamic at play was very important. But I think we were able to build off it on day one itself. We were able to
Hmm.
get that really right and then build that chemistry. And if you notice with us, our story in the film, there is a
Yeah.
lot of, it's like two ships passing each other in the dark.
Correct.
Where they're total strangers and you may have crossed paths with each other so many times, but you've never really realized it.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's things like that I think it's like an
Yeah.
old school sort of filmmaking, which I love.
So, which are the films that rom-coms that you have grown up watching? And if
Oh
I
God.
could ask you that one movie that you would want to, a past romantic movie that you would want to be remade and you want to be a part of it.
uh there are too many. There's some beautiful films, so
Hmm.
for me, I think it'd be very difficult to pinpoint and say, oh, this one film. But I think for me, the films that really get me are the ones that have a little bit of sadness in them.
Yeah.
So it's the films that have, just love lost, or
Hmm.
giving yourself a second chance in life. So it's those kind of films that actually stay with you a lot longer than the feel good,
Hmm.
oh, everything worked out, perfectly in the end.
The happy ending.
uh Correct. So I think I'm kind of drawn more to those types of films. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and we've had some beautiful films made in our industry.
You have had an illustrious career in this industry. Today, when you look back at your journey in a hindsight, is there anything you wish you could have done differently?
No, certainly not. And I think in a very large way, I'm just getting started. I mean, today I'm working with some of the directors that have been on my wish list for a very long time.
Hmm.
When even when what we supposedly call the peak of our career, which,
Hmm.
or at least people seem to refer to, because they feel that when you're in your 20s, that's the peak of your career. And today, I think there are multiple actresses that are proving that completely wrong. So the
Yeah.
peak of your career is when you're doing your life's best work. And I genuinely believe that I'm doing the kind of work that I've always wanted to do now,
Yeah.
much more than I did in my 20s and 30s. So,
Yeah.
and it's amazing looking at the things that are coming up ahead as well. I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's an exciting time for artists and actors everywhere across all the mediums. But thank you so much,
It
ma'am,
is.
for doing this interaction. It
Thank
was
you.
lovely having a word with you, Lara. I am trying not to say ma'am, but thank you so much for doing this
Thank you,
interaction.
Nirali. Thank you so
Thanks a
much. Have
lot.
a great day.